So I'm going live. Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Crystallize YouTube Live. I'm today here with Håkon. And with Håkon, we will introduce, discuss, and show maybe a little bit on what we recently released as Crystallize, which is the new service API, right, Håkon?
Yes, yes. And hello. Yeah. And when you say recently, I mean, this is fresh out of the oven.
It's super fresh. And it's a really interesting concept. We had done a similar talk with Board a few weeks back, introducing and discussing a little bit about headless architecture and how things could potentially look in a system. So yeah, I think this is where the API, the service API, comes in place and ties things up a bit, right?
I think, and I hope it will clarify some concepts, and hopefully also enable people that are starting with this new Jamstack approach to have a manageable stack, something that makes sense, something that they are not sort of scared of touching, and yeah, I'm actually really excited about this.
Yeah, sounds great. So maybe we can start with saying what is it, and I guess what it's going to be doing essentially.
Yeah.
So what is the service API that we introduced, Håkon?
What is it? Yeah, and I know that you're keen to hear this too.
Yeah, this is really nice stuff, because I have been talking with various people that could be really benefiting from this. So
yeah, okay. So we made a blog post about how to do a proper headless architecture. This was late last year, about a month ago.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing my screen, by the way. I'm not sure if you're sharing that.
Let me stop sharing mine then.
Okay. Yeah.
There we go.
So we've had this idea for some time that it probably makes sense for us to introduce a new type of boilerplates. And the reason for that is that when we look at the headless architecture, for most companies, it kind of looks like this, where you have, and let me quickly explain this diagram. You typically have your front ends at the top, React or Vue or an app, for instance, could be many different front ends that would talk to Crystallize to fetch data and do searching and all that. And then in between these two nodes, there's a need for something else as well, which is what we've coined the service API. And the whole purpose of the service API is to tie all of the different services together that sort of makes up your business. And for many people, that involves, apart from Crystallize, if you're a client of ours, it also involves a payment provider, for instance, Stripe. It could be user authentication using Auth0, SendGrid for emails, and there's just a whole bunch of different services that would make sense to have in your stack that would talk to the service API. And the service API's responsibility here is simply to tie all of these services together and present that to the front end. And that could be any given front end. Not just a single one. You could potentially have many front ends running on the same service API and then on the same Crystallize tenant, if you like. So that's a high level overview of what the service API is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think like the first very simple thing that comes in mind is like, okay, as an example, of course, right? So someone logs in my React application in the front end, right, in my desktop application, and then he does performs a few actions, so like adding stuff in the basket, just saying, and then he logs in from his app, so he's using his phone, not entering the website. So there, when he logs in, I perhaps want to see my basket having the same items that I had placed when I was using the desktop app, right?
Yep.
So this should be like a very simple idea of how syncing can be done.
Yes, exactly. And that's sort of the role of the Service API in this case. It's to tie all of these things together and present the same data to any kind of front end or any kind of channel head that you might have.
Exactly.
So so the example that you mentioned with an app and a web and all sort of presenting the same data, this is exactly what we think is a good starting point to have. And this is also what we sort of baked into the initial version of the Service API.
Exactly. Awesome. Not sure, do you want to jump on showing like how people can start using it, or how it looks perhaps using it?
Yeah, so what is like, so with like in the concept of the Service API is easy enough. It's a service, a collection of services all presented in a single interface. And when I say that, many of you might think, well, this sounds like a GraphQL API, doesn't it? And yeah, that's exactly what we decided to do. So the Service API boilerplate, which we are releasing, I think we released it today.
Yeah.
So it's quite fresh. So the Service API itself is another GraphQL API. So if you're used to Crystallize in the past, or then you've encountered one or more of our own GraphQL APIs. So then this new one shouldn't be a big deal. But how it looks like in all practical terms is that you would have, and I'm showing you now a new tab in Chrome, and this is a already deployed version of the boilerplate, the Service API boilerplate, where you can see now an empty playground. And this is the portal in for new developers checking out the Service API, and it's where you would explore the different services that are available. So the first thing you could do is check out the docs on the right-hand side to see what kind of queries you have and what kind of mutations that comes with this API. So we've included what we think is a good starting point. You probably want a basket, some user stuff, some payment orders, an example for some very custom business, whatever, purely as an example of what, like how do you write and extend this API yourself. So if I want to demonstrate something very simple, let's use the user queries and check if the user is logged in or not, simply. And the Service API tells us that there is no current user logged in. I mean, this user session that I'm in is not like that. That's the correct term. So if you wanted to write a login functionality from the front end, you would have to call a mutation that we wrote here to send a magic link to users, which looks like this. It's an email. I can go with my own. Oh, that's the wrong one. There we go.
Original letters. It's good.
Yeah. And after we log in, I think we just want to end up in the API. For now, I think the proper one, if you have a front end, myshop.com, right? This is where you want to end up. But for now, let's just go here. And I should get back a success and error. Well, I don't care about the error actually in this case. And it says it was sent. So I'm just going to open up my email in a different tab. I'm just going to copy the link that it sent me. So all of the magic link functionality itself, it's exposed, obviously. I mean, it's in the source code of the Service API boilerplate, but it's really straightforward stuff that it's doing. And it sent me eventually to this API again. And if I go back to user, I expect this one to tell me that I am logged in. And I am. And then I can query further stuff like, what is my email? Oh, it's this. So that's essentially all you need to do as a developer, as a front-end developer on your end to implement the magic login. The service API obviously needs to be set up in order to do this, but the one that you can see here in this live stream here is something that we will keep running as a demo shop, really, demo service API for you to use, and is always going to be up to date.
Nice, awesome. So people can just go in and just play and try a few things out, see how it works, and then proceed if they want to, creating their own instance, essentially, right?
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. Exactly. So how does this look from the front end side? I think I want to show quickly how that works as well, because I think it makes sense. Let me just quickly get the. For now, we've implemented the service API and the Next.js boilerplate. So that's what I'm going to show. Thought I had it open. I just need to open the correct project here. Give me a second. Oh man.
We trust you on this, Håkon.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But essentially, people can be using that for anything that has to do with implementing links or integrations with third-party applications. Talk to Crystallize, capture the webhooks from Crystallize, and perform the logic there, which will be really nice to have like a preset of logic implemented, rather than, of course, having a single point where you can access from all of your different front-end deployments.
Exactly. And so you mentioned something important here too, and that's webhooks as well. I mean, the service API would be the place to send all your webhooks to, and it would be the perfect spot to do actions based on webhooks from any service, really. So let me just quickly show what the how the front end would find out if you're logged in or not. If we have that, I'm not sure. If we don't, we can easily add it. I don't think we actually have that one. It's kind of, wait, we have something here. Yeah, we do. Okay. So this this is a good example. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So there's an auth provider in the app, and it has a simple status state here. And this is how it will call the service API. It's just going to execute the same query that we had before. User is logged in, and that's it, really. There's really nothing more to it. And then you can pass this response on. You see we set the status here, and then we pass the status on to the entire application. So every component can then listen to this and figure out if the user is logged in or not logged in, and change the UI accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
This can obviously be done without React. It would be a little bit different, but this part here itself, that would be the same. And I guess these REST guys as well. So that part will sort of always be the same. And the service API itself, I can reveal that that's really simple stuff as well. There it is. This is all that it's doing. It's a simple fetch to the URL, and yeah, it should be familiar for people that are used to fetch, at least. Yep. You can also use other tools, like other frameworks here, or libraries like Axios, and whatever else there might be. I'm not sure. I'm more used to the vanilla version.
Awesome. That's great. Cool. I mean, I don't know what else. Can we just maybe show around here that that's, I guess, easy to get started with, and just maybe show how we can change a few things around, and or I mean, that's a boilerplate, of course. The next is boilerplate, but in the service API, like maybe show a little bit around for people that are interested in
Sure.
implementing a bit of logic.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Let's show how you would go about creating your own version of the service API. So once you bootstrap the Next.js boilerplate, you will just use the demo one. I think it's here. This is the one it's going to use by default. So if you want to use something else, then, well, you probably want to use something else, of course, because this is just the demo. Test values, test products. Really, yeah, you need your own version of the service API or another thing if you want to go full e-commerce. So let's share like how you would get started. So you should be seeing my terminal now.
Yeah, we can see it.
So the way to bootstrap any boilerplate we have is to go like this, and you would do my service. Yeah, just give this a name. Can be anything. So we added the service API as a part of the list in the boilerplates. Although it's a completely different flavor. This is a backend only project, only really exposing the playground and the GraphQL API. So you can see it down here. Currently, we've don't have a lot of options here. We can use the demo tenant for now. We can also specify your very own. And in the coming weeks, we will add some more options here in terms of what kind of hosting do you prefer? Is it Vercel, or is it some kind of serverless framework destination? So AWS, Google Cloud, and the rest. So that's some options that you would have to make a good judgment on once you run this tool. But this example is using Vercel, and it's all serverless functions. So it's a stateless API as well. It doesn't communicate with any database for now, but this is the place where you would connect the database if you have the need to. Okay, so let's see. It's done. My service API. Not a lot of files. I can open this in Visual Studio Code, and I can switch to that. So here's how it looks. So essentially what it's doing, it's setting the env for the furniture, and it needs a bunch of different tokens. Crystallize tokens, for instance, and so on and so forth. So we're not going to do them now. We can just do some dummy stuff here, which means emails and stuff won't work, but that's okay. So if I do start this up now, let's see if this live demo thing works. I'm just going to test this on the side here. So that's how you started, and then you should be presented with the same playground as before. So if you wanted to make a change, make your own stuff. We've added some dummy data in the service API, stuff that you really don't necessarily want in the in production.
Yep. Or their own project, I guess. Yeah.
let me share another screen too. I'm sharing also the playground now. Do you automatically switch when
I can see the playground?
Okay, that's good.
Still a bit far away. I can't see much, but yeah, that's better.
That's better. So we have this my custom business thing here, which is a pure example of sort of how do you work with GraphQL? How do you set up your own API, and how do you make like this field here output this data, essentially. So if I go back to Visual Studio Code here and show you how that specific thing is done, we need to go to the type definitions first. And I'm not going to go into details on sort of how GraphQL works, because that deserves its own live stream itself. But essentially, you're declaring types on the queries. And my custom business queries has a what is this field, as well as two other ones. So I propose what we can do. We can start off by changing the text here to something else than what it's currently doing. And to do that, we have to go to the resolvers and change here, because you can see my custom business thing resolves the what is field to this value. It's basically just a JSON. So if I go hello here, I'm not sure if I have to reload, honestly. I don't have to, apparently. Then we've got this guy. So that was easy enough.
Mm-hmm.
You can also then change the other ones, and you can see here dynamic random int is also available, and let's see what that yields. That's a random int apparently, so gives you back something. And if you check out how that works, you can see that it's not part of the initial JSON response here. So what GraphQL does is that if it's not part of the initial response here, it will look for custom resolvers that's located within the type. And you can read a lot about this. This is using Apollo, by the way. So the Apollo docs are amazing, and you can read a lot more in detail about how this works. But this is how the dynamic random int is resolved. And you can see it, there's a math random and a parse int. That's it. So if I want to change this and make the values bigger, potentially, then that's all I have to do. So if we go back, we now have way, way bigger numbers. So this is really sort of the nature of this. And if I were to bootstrap a new e-commerce on this would really be a good starting point, because you can then make your own business logic within this. There's a whole bunch of services here. That's like a starting kit for services. For instance, like an email service that's basically wrapping for now SendGrid. This is how you do emails in SendGrid. And the email service itself has user magic link and order confirmation mails already set up. And there's, as we talked about previously, there's also examples for webhooks. For instance, if and this is very specific to Crystallize, but if you move an order around in a fulfillment pipeline, you can then use this webhook here to get some more details on which pipeline it's in, and so on and so forth. And
of course, you add whatever logic you want to be adding there, right? So
exactly. And this is also what is really relevant for stuff like the basket, because basket is something that all the logic to determine the total price and all that should live here, not on the front end. So the front end needs to request the basket from the Service API, and it's really in here where you determine the price, if there should be a discount, and do all of that kind of business specific stuff, really in here. So this really sort of moves all the responsibility of the critical stuff really to where it should be, and that's here.
Yeah, so it's super clean as a way to approach things.
Yeah, I think so, and I'm really interested to see what people can build with this.
Yeah, awesome. That's great.
Right.
Do you think that we should mention anything else? Like, of course, this will be available for everyone. It is available for everyone to download from the CLI, right? It's open source, so people, of course, can go in and do whatever. And add their own logic to whatever with their systems that they want to integrate with.
Yes. I think that's good. I think we want to cut this one shorter than we could have done. We could have talked about a lot about like how to extend services and how to make magic really in the Service API. But I think that deserves its own separate
exactly.
So we can tease now and say that, well, we're probably going to make a live stream on how to do different kind of shipping pricing depending on where you're shipping to and the shipping options that you might want to provide. How to do voucher codes specifically. Even differing on the type of user that's logged in.
Exactly.
And providing different kind of vouchers for them than for others. I mean, all of that stuff it's treats for the future.
Yeah, exactly. So that and many more, I guess. So yeah, it's really nice to see that things are coming in place. So for the guys out there, I guess, if there is something that you think that it will be useful and maybe you're really interested in us showing using the Service API and maybe show how this can be plug and playable with the boilerplates, etc., etc. Any question of any sorts, just feel free, reach out in Slack or here on YouTube, whatever really, we're everywhere. And we can just see how we can make that work in a future live stream, right? So,
exactly. Yeah, we're super keen on feedback, and also exactly what you mentioned, like good examples of what that would make sense to have as a part of this.
Yeah.
I mean, the Service API is the destination for all of these kind of cool things that we probably not going to do in Crystallize, but sort of belongs outside.
Exactly. In a system that it's business logic. So
exactly, yeah. Really specific business magic. Yeah. Yeah.
Really nice. Awesome. So thanks everyone for joining this YouTube live event. Thank you, Håkon, for showing us the new Service API. It's awesome.
Pleasure.
It's we promised it would be short. It's normal time just to give you an idea. Again, thank you everyone for joining, and we'll keep in touch, of course. We're reachable in all channels. Thank you again.